Well, here we are again, writing games with C# and XNA, and it's still me, Rob Miles, and I'm still recording stuff and telling you all about the good game development experience you can have. We've come a fairish way. There's a fair way to go. Tonight we're going to add some vibration. This is actually quite fun. He said as if the rest of the course hadn't been fun at all and you'd all been wasting your time. Actually, no, this is quite fun. We know that we can get the state of the gamepad. We can ask the gamepad, hey, how are you doing? And we can get the information from the gamepad that tells us the state of the buttons. We know all that. We can read this and use it in the program so the game can react to the buttons, and that's in fact how games work. They ask the gamepad for this state packet, it then tells them, and they then move the car, fire the gun, flip the switch, whatever it is that that button's been programmed to do in the game. And we used it to change the intensity of colours to make them get brighter as we held the buttons down. So we know all that kind of good stuff. We can read the buttons, we can get properties from this state thing, and it all just seems to work fine. But I want to get my game a little bit more exciting and force feedback, some kind of tactile thing. In real life they call this haptic, I think. Some kind of haptic response would be nice. Nice word to drop into the conversation tonight if you want to try and impress someone. I wrote some haptic feedback code today, dear, you can say, and they'll fall at your feet. They'll be terribly impressed. Or they'll look at you like you're an idiot. One of the two. I think I know which one I'd get. Anyway, moving on. You want to make the gamepad start to vibrate when the colour values get to a critical one to try and add to the excitement of the whole gameplay experience. Always a good idea. Definitely do this. Okay? So, if you look at the gamepad, there it is again. This is kind of like a shimmery drawing effect, which I've gone for to give you the impression of a gamepad trembling in your hands. Yes, art never was my strong point. I could never stay between the lines when I was colouring, but then again, such is life. If you look at a gamepad, take it to bits, very nice piece of kit. Inside there are two motors, a high frequency motor and a low frequency motor. What that means is they have weights on the end of the spindle which are a bit offset, and they, when you spin them, they sort of wobble round and they make the gamepad vibrate at different speeds. And so we've got effectively two motors we can control, and by changing the speed of these motors we can get different vibrating effects. And once we've done this, you can play with them and get whatever buzzy or rumbly kind of effects you like. So there's two motors we can drive, and XNA provides a way our game program can actually change the speed these motors run at to make the gamepad vibrate. It's actually very, very easy. We have a method which is called SetVibration. Here it is. And we tell it which of the gamepads we want to hit. In this case is player 1. It's the first gamepad, the one with the top left hand quadrant lit up. And we have two numbers, a 1 and a 1, and these are basically the intensity of vibration we want for those two motors. The first one is the power level for the left hand motor, and then the second one is the power level for the right hand motor. And these numbers, the values go from 0 to 1, 0 meaning no vibration at all, and 1 meaning all the vibration you've got. So a value of 1 is basically vibrate at full power, and so you really would notice this. The gamepad does seem to kind of leap out of your hand when you do this. Now, we've used parameters before. The parameter is the piece of information that gets pushed into the method call to tell the method what to do. When we use a clear method, we say, I'd like the screen to be blue or green or black or yellow or teal or whatever colour we want. In the case of the vibration, what we're saying is, I'm telling you which gamepad to hit. There it is. I'm telling you the left-hand power level, and I'm telling you the right-hand power level. So these three bits of information get wrapped up and then sent off to the SetVibration method, which then does whatever it needs to do to tell the gamepad to vibrate. For a wireless one, it actually sends a message over the air to a wireless receiver in the gamepad that picks that up, decodes it, and then starts the motor spinning. So what that means as far as gamepads are concerned is that actually it's a two-way conversation. The gamepad doesn't just say stuff, it can also listen to things as well. So you've got two-way comms between your gamepad and your Xbox. It's all very clever stuff, and it works extremely well. And what that means is if we do this, call this method and do this, our gamepad will begin to vibrate like mad. Okay, fantastic, just what you want. Now, The idea is that the game will get more exciting because the closer you are, or as soon as you get to a certain point in the game, then the gamepad will start to vibrate to indicate that we're into the dangerous bit now. And so the idea is that we want to make the gamepad vibrate when we reach a certain level of color intensity. So when the brightness of the color gets above a certain point, the gamepad starts to tremble and everyone gets much more excited or something. So pick a number, say 220, and we say, okay, as soon as the green intensity gets bigger than 220, I'm going to make the gamepad vibrate at that point. This is what we're going to do. This is the program will make that decision. And so we have to write a condition. Conditions are the way we make programs take decisions. And so this one, we have an if condition, which is how we've done this before. If the green intensity, which is the one I'm using to control the vibration, is bigger than 220, which is the number we've chosen, then set the vibration of the gamepad for player 1 to flat out. Okay, so we've seen these tests before. This greater than symbol you may see in maths. It's actually around on the keypad somewhere, keyboard round towards the bottom right hand corner. If you take a look, then that really means if we've got a lot of green, or we've got more green than 220's worth, then get vibrating, baby, and at that point the gamepad will leap into life. So as the color gets brighter, suddenly the controller will start to vibrate to indicate we're in a kind of danger Will Robinson type of situation. Always much more exciting. So that's how it works. And what I've got is a bit more detail here on the greater than operator. There's a corresponding less than one which points the other way. I can tell them apart because the less than one looks a bit like a little L. If you think about it, it sort of goes that way, and that's like a little L, whereas the greater than one doesn't. It points the other way and looks like, well, an arrow, basically, I guess. And so, as far as I'm concerned, this is the thing that says, I'm going to compare you, and if you're bigger than you, then in that situation, I'm going to return a true value. The condition will fire and this statement will be hit, and so we'll get our gamepad to vibrate, which will be lovely. Trust me, it'll be wonderful. Okay, you won't see it because I can't show it to you, but trust me, it's wonderful. Okay, I can show you the code running if I just sort of chug down here into I should practice this, shouldn't I? Here you go, vibration color nerve, and suddenly, as though I've prepared this very carefully in advance, which of course I have, this is the code. If green intensity is bigger than 220, then start vibrating. So if I run the game, then it starts up, get our screen, it's black at the moment. I'll start increasing the amount of green, and it's getting greener and 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 greener. And isn't this exciting? Okay, I can, at some point I should start to get, ooh, my controller's gone. There you go. Now you probably can't hear that too well. If I put the controller down, and you can hear, that's really buzzing away quite happily. So as soon as it got above 255, I got this wonderful rattly effect, and so the game actually now, I've got my warning rattle, and if I keep on increasing this, if you can hear that, rather annoyingly, the screen's gone black and my controller is still rattling. So I've got half the behavior I want, in that it'll start to rattle quite happily when I get above the 220 limit. Snag is, as soon as I go back down to 0 again, the rumbling continues, and it'll keep on doing this until the battery and the controller goes flat. Or I press the stop button and stop the game. In fact, it seems to still be rattling. It's still rattling away quite happily, which is kind of annoying of it. So we'll put that down somewhere quiet. There you are. You can sit down there for a while until your battery goes flat, and we'll take a look at the program, and we'll take a look at what we've done to see if we can actually fix this. And I'll press resume slideshow, so that it's actually all back on where it should be. Okay, there is a problem with this, and the slide sort of makes a mention of this. This version of the game will vibrate when it gets too intense, and then it won't stop. It never stops vibrating after that. It will vibrate forever. That's a bug. Now, you could call this, if you wanted, the curse of the haunted gamepad, but we probably shouldn't do that, because we're into debugging mode. We've got our little figure with its magnifying glass, and we're trying to figure out why the gamepad isn't stopping even though the color is no longer too bright. What would cause it to keep vibrating? The answer actually is not terribly surprising. Gamepads are a bit like elephants. They don't like buns particularly, although I'm not sure whether elephants like buns either. I've never been able to check that particular theory out. But they are like elephants in that they don't forget. They're stateful, if you like. You can tell them to do something and they'll keep on doing that until you say something different. So we tell our gamepad, hey, start vibrating, and they'll keep on doing that until you tell them not to. As far as we're concerned, you can regard the vibrating kind of thing as a physical switch that I flick one way or another, and once it's in that position it stays there forever, like a light switch. You turn it on, it's on. So what we have to do is we have to actually explicitly we must tell the gamepad, hey, don't vibrate anymore because it's not too bright. You're now back below the limits. The crisis has passed. We're no longer too bright. We can go dark. We can sort of go quiet now. And C# provides a lesson operator. I mentioned it before. There's the little L. Isn't it sweet? Isn't that nice? So we could use that, and we could have two tests, one to see if it's bigger and one to see if it's smaller. But there's a better way. C# provides a much better way to solve this particular problem, and it's called the else component. If the green is bigger than 220, let's get vibrating. Else, now what else means is if this condition doesn't fire, do this code instead. So we either do that bit or that bit depending on the green intensity value. And so if it's bigger than 220, hey, we'll vibrate like mad. If it's less than 220, this bit goes and we turn the vibration off. Okay, now I'm feeling kind of brave, so I'm going to actually mend this in front of your eyes. Watch this. So here's my code. There it says set the vibration to 1. If I just go into here and I type in the missing bits, else, put the brackets in first, then go back in here and go take the gamepad dot set vibration player index dot 1. Isn't it good this? And then let's turn everything off. 0, 0. And so there you go. We've now actually said if the intensity is less than 220, this bit of code will run, and in that situation the gamepad won't vibrate anymore. So now if I run my program up, I'll just get everything good to go. Okay, so now I press my green button, I get my vibration. If I put the thing on the table, you can hear it, hopefully. Ooh, exciting. Come on, you can do it. There you go. It's vibrating away. That sounds fantastic. Okay, keep on making it brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and suddenly it stops. Because the intensity value has now gone back below 220 and it's turned off the vibration. And so we're in business. We've solved the problem. We've got it to work. And so I can just keep going round and round like this. And the thing I want you to take away really from this particular bit of the business is that if I have a condition, I can make it fire. And I can also pick up the behavior I should have if that condition isn't true. I can add this else behavior, which is kind of nice, and this version of the game, as we've heard, stops vibrating when the color value maps round. So what we've learned today in this little session is we can control the gamepad and make it do stuff. Okay, we can read information back, that's fine. We can also tell it to do things like vibration. And so time for true or false. True or false, a gamepad contains two vibration motors. Yes, it does. The left one and the right one. The if condition will compare two values and test if one is greater than the other. Let me think, is that true? I think it is, and it goes green to prove this. Once a gamepad has been made to vibrate, it will only stop when you tell it. Yep, I reckon that's true as well, because that's what we've noticed. It just keeps on chugging away in the corner to itself. That's green. The final one, this is a bit more tricky. We've never used else bits before. We've just used conditions to do stuff. And this time we thought it would be kind of cute to add an else bit to make the program even better. So if that's true and we haven't had else's before, I reckon that statement has to be wrong. And I'm right. So there you are. I mean, it's not that I wrote it or anything. But get this wrong, it's terribly embarrassing. So there you go. Quick look at conditions and how to control the gamepad. If you want to play with the numbers, then 0.5 or so gives a fairly gentle rumble, and I reckon that about 0.2 and 0.3 you can just about detect. You can even invent games where you try and sort of find out who's got the most sensitive hands, who can tell it's vibrating at the sort of the slightest level. You have to be careful to stop people from cheating. I'll leave you to work out how to do that. If you want to write some I mean, there's even an idea you could write a massage game that makes a vibrating massage out of your gamepad, so you can use it on the back of your neck, where it sort of to give it some vibration, massage, relaxing stuff. That's kind of fun too. So there are various things you can do with this vibrating business. It's kind of fun, and now you know how to do it. As usual, the source files, more screencasts, and all kinds of good stuff on verysillygames.com/screencasts. Go there now and download all the good stuff. Thank you very much for paying attention. I will be back next month. There will be more.